It's a city that's hosted all sorts of parties.
But it's never seen anything like this.
We're really excited, and we cannot wait to showcase Milwaukee to the world.
50,000 people are coming to town.
That's a great bump to the economy, obviously.
Those who aren't coming will be watching.
We have a chance to showcase Milwaukee.
History will be made.
We have an opportunity, all of us do, to help Milwaukee to shine.
And we're making sure you're ready.
This is Conventional Wisdom.
Welcome, everyone, to Conventional Wisdom, the podcast that's now survived longer than William Henry Harrison's presidency, but is guaranteed to be gone by Packers training camp.
Did you just drop a number 9 president reference?
I did, 31 days.
Let's go back in time in the spring of 2022. Mayor Cavalier Johnson wooed RNC officials to say, you know what? Cream City's the place you ought to be. And you know what? The pitch worked.
In today's episode, the good, the bad, the green, we welcome Mayor Cavalier Johnson of Milwaukee to talk about his hopes for the convention.
And we're going to get to that, Mayor. But I want to make the first question of what could have been question. Because I'm curious, did the DNC, Democratic National Committee, drop the ball by not getting on the phone right after 2020 and saying, Mayor Johnson, don't worry, we're coming. You did the work. You did the prep work. You got screwed by the pandemic. We understand that. We're not going anywhere else. Instead, they went to Chicago, a state that's been blue since 1992. I got to ask you, did your own party drop the ball by not committing to Milwaukee right off the bat?
Well, look, I wish that the DNC, I mean, just candidly speaking, I wish that the DNC would have just selected to come back to Milwaukee in 2024. It takes a lot of effort for a city like us, a city that is trying to break into that next tier of emerging American cities, to secure a convention like that. And we had to beat out a number of, big time cities that were vying for this. And so I wish that Democrats would have recognized that. And then to go to Chicago, not even to Atlanta or go to, Phoenix, perhaps to a battleground state.
They pulled a council on us.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish the DNC would have just came back to Milwaukee in 2024.
At the end of the day, though, Milwaukee and New York are the only two cities that have ever had consecutive conventions. So we're getting up there.
Yeah, we're in some pretty rarefied air in Milwaukee, as I like to say.
Who was a harder sell, do you think? Was it the RNC to come here or the Common Council to welcome them with open arms?
Well, I mean, the RNC was going around the country trying to find whichever city was going to host the RNC, or the convention. Fortunately for me, I got to be able to go into the room and talk to them directly, and there wasn't, sort of the political strife, the natural tension between legislative and executive branch. So it may have been easier to get the RNC folks to be interested in Milwaukee than it was to get my former colleagues on the Common Council to say yes. But ultimately they did, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think, the city's going to be a beneficiary of that decision in the years to come.
It was the same sales pitch, right? Pretty much.
It was. It was
tweaked.
It was tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
It was tweaked a little bit.
When Nashville, you mentioned a lot of cities were going to this. When Nashville backed out, did any part of you say, wait, what do they know that I don't know? Like when a top player doesn't get drafted and goes down in the draft, and everyone starts wondering, why aren't they picking him? Did that make you wonder? Nashville's a city that's hosted some major conventions. Did you go, well, what do they know that we don't know?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think that for Nashville, a lot of the politics got involved here. And look, I'm a Democrat, as you just sort of outed me, Ted. People obviously know that.
I think they know.
It's not a well-kept secret.
But for us, I was trying not to be too political in this. I was saying that I'm a Democrat and I agree with what Governor Walker has said before. This is not about blue. It's not about red. It's about green. It's about our economy. And I think that the RNC is not the end. It's the beginning. Right? It's the beginning of a virtuous cycle of these large-scale events, whether they're political, business, sports, or entertainment, or they're otherwise, that'll come to Milwaukee. I think the RNC is the beginning of that happening here. And so I'm super excited about that in terms of Nashville and what they knew or didn't know. I think politics got in the way there. That was one. And then two, I think the other thing is that they've got conventions and things like that happening there all the time. They don't necessarily need, that to have the boost that we're seeking to get in Milwaukee.
The title of this episode is The Good, the Bad, and the Green. Let's start with the good. We're expecting 50,000 extra people to come into the city, a $200 million economic bump, some say. What else do you see that is good? I know you talked about this could just be the beginning of Milwaukee kind of blowing up in terms of bringing big things here. What else?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're able to have not just $200 million projected, and again, I don't control what the economic projections are. These are third party folks who are saying whatever those will be. But whether it's $100 million, $150 million, $200 million worth of economic impact in your city, I think that's a wise move to try to generate that for your community. When you can have 50,000 people to come and descend upon your city, not just from around the United States, but from around the world, and they'll go back and they'll tell the story, the good story about the good land in their communities. That's a positive thing. And then when you can have the eyes, the attention, not just of the country, but of the world focused in on your city for a number of days, a 4-day long positive commercial about Milwaukee, like that's a good thing. That starts that virtuous economic cycle that I was talking about.
On that note, though, you've done what you can, and you will continue to do what you can. But aren't you sort of giving away to the keys to the castle to the RNC? It's a lot of how they perform and what they do will reflect on Milwaukee too. Is there a leap of faith you have to say you're going to throw a good party?
Yeah, and the work that we're doing to make sure that businesses on the ground here and minority businesses at that even are engaged, in this. I think that the committee on arrangement, Anne Hathaway, all those folks, and Reince Priebus, those folks have been just really great to work with, and they're committed to showcasing Milwaukee in a very positive light. I look at what happened in Cleveland in 2016, the last time we had a full-scale Republican National Convention, and that city has gone on to host a number of major things after the RNC. And I mean, quite candidly, I mean that's where Trump first walked across the stage, as a bona fide candidate of a major American political party, and look at what they've benefited over the course of the last number of years. So I'm looking forward to the same sort of thing happening here.
They just hosted the women's Final Four.
Exactly,
that'd be a nice thing to have.
It'd be a great thing to have.
When it comes to the businesses like you just spoke about, I mean, hospitality has to be top of mind. You have to imagine that some of the biggest restaurateurs are talking with their staffs and talking them and prepping them about how to be hospitable, no matter who's sitting at their tables, right? Have you had these conversations?
Yeah, and I think that's happening just generally, right? I mean, you always want to make sure you're hospitable, no matter who's coming into your establishment. I mean, look, folks make a lot of noise about 50,000 Republicans coming to Milwaukee as if we don't have any Republicans in Milwaukee. I mean, I can tell you this: when I was 2nd District Alderman and I knocked on like 10,000 doors myself personally, many of those doors, especially farther north and west in my aldermanic district, some of the parts of the district were really conservative. Some of those parts of the district had, "We stand with Walker" signs in the yard when I went there in 2016. Now I was able to win those votes over, and they took the Walker signs down and put the Chevy Johnson signs up, which I'm very grateful for. But I say that to say that there are already 50,000 Republican voters in the city of Milwaukee. They're already here. They already go to these restaurants. These folks are already hospitable towards the Republicans that come in and spend their dollars already. So I would expect that much like any traveler, any person who comes to Milwaukee, that same sort of hospitality would be extended.
We're several weeks out. How can you make sure that the businesses that want to wet their beak to be a part of this are going to get that business? Because there was some concern in Cleveland that even those that were close to the action, they weren't given, or they did not get the business that they were promised, as much as you can promise anything like that. How do you make sure that those people who are committing their services are going to get those services, or going to get their customers?
I'd like to tell them to make sure that they're in touch with our partners at Visit Milwaukee, make sure they're in touch with the RNC, make sure they're in touch with the Committee on Arrangements, for the ability that they have, make sure that they're open as much as they possibly are to regulars to be able to come in, encourage the regulars to still patronize their businesses as well. Like, we don't want this to be a ghost town just for the people who are coming in for the RNC festivities. Like, this is an opportunity for people in the city of Milwaukee, people in our region, to still come down and do the things that they enjoy doing in our city each and every single day.
I know Congress just signed off on $75 million in terms of excess funds to just help with the security aspect of hosting an event like this. Is there concern of, the carjackings and everything that we air on the news each and every night? And I know it seems more prevalent when you maybe watch the news than what is actually happening in reality, because we're talking about the individual crimes that are happening. But are you worried, despite the huge security zone that there's going to be, that there could be issues?
Well, anytime that there's a large scale event, whether it's here or whether it's in, pick your city, pick your place. Like, there are always going to be concerns, right? I mean, I think even during a presidential inauguration in Washington, D.C., where you have, hundreds of thousands of people going to the nation's capital, I mean, folks have concerns. That's why those security things are in place there. So it's our job to continue to work to make sure that we're looking at public safety from all aspects. And I can tell you our partners, not just on the ground here in the Milwaukee Police Department and the Milwaukee Fire Department, but also our federal partners in the Secret Service and other agencies are looking at every sort of facet of public safety to make sure we have a safe convention for everybody. And myself, I worked very, very diligently, I'd say, and across party lines over the course of the last number of months. And it wasn't just me, it was a whole host of partners to increase that security grant from $50 million that had been frozen at since 2004 when these conventions started receiving federal support to get that increase to $75 million. So we take public safety very, very seriously, and we'll continue to do that all the way up and through the convention as well.
In 2020, the Common Council, when we thought we were going to get the vast number of visitors, was very proactive in human trafficking efforts to be on the lookout for. Same kind of thing happening here. There's a debate about whether large events really do draw an increase in human trafficking, but it was enough of a concern in 2020 for the Common Council to approach it. What's the approach now? I
believe that the approach would be the same. I mean, that's the benefit of why the Democratic National Convention should have come back to Milwaukee in 2024. They didn't. The RNC made a commitment here. They are here. I'm happy that they're here. But for us, we laid a foundation that we were able to build off of for a large-scale national political convention in 2024. And so I think that a lot of those things are already in place for us to be able to make sure we're still able to address this year.
I mean, they've done this before, right?
We've done it before. We've done it before.
Not the first rodeo here. When it comes to your role, I mean, obviously there's a committee. You guys have been planning this for years. There's so many people involved. We've done the walkthroughs of the facilities, and there's a lot of different facilities that are part of this whole thing. What is your role come those 4 days? Or do you not have a role and you're kind of stepping back and just watching it in awe?
I'm not just going to watch it in awe. I don't know exactly what my role will be as it relates to the actual convention, but I'll be making noise some form or fashion, some way. I don't know what that is exactly, but we'll be doing something.
Does protocol dictate the hosting mayor be a part of the festivities in any way, even though clearly not of the same political party?
Yeah, I mean, we're still in the planning stages, obviously. So I don't know exactly what that means. If I would give a welcome, an official welcome at the convention, in Pfizer Forum, I don't know what that looks like just yet.
One of my biggest questions is because we have so many people coming into town, whether they're flying into town, whether they're being bussed in from Madison because they're staying out there or staying at some of the surrounding communities, because obviously we can't host them all within the city limits. There's a lot of construction happening on the highways and the thoroughfares. Is any of that being paused to help with congestion, or is the DOT just going to keep on going and just keep our fingers crossed, hope for the best?
I don't know what's happening outside of the city or outside of the general security perimeter that we'll be establishing. But I think for our projects, the City of Milwaukee Department of Public Works projects, I think we're putting a pause on them on that week.
Hopefully that'll help.
Hopefully.
It is that season.
We're talking with Mayor Cavalier Johnson about the RNC coming to Wisconsin. I am old enough to remember and have covered the 2002 AllStar Game. You remember that coming to town?
02.
AllStar
Game.
You were in high school, I believe, if my math is correct.
I was in high school.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Okay. Okay. I'm the oldest guy in the room. Let's talk about the obvious. I want to read you something, and it's a painful thing for me to read, and it's going to be painful to hear. But this was from Tom Verducci of Sports Illustrated. To refresh any listeners or viewers, the game ended in a tie, which is a debacle. The rain was pounding down. The roof at then Miller Park leaked a little bit. And he wrote this article that does not bode well for Milwaukee. His suggestions for improving the AllStar Game: keep the game out of Milwaukee. And I'm quoting now. It's a fine, friendly city, but let's be honest. The only reason the game was held in Milwaukee was because Bud Selig helped use it as a chip toward getting taxpayers to build a new ballpark. Milwaukee might be equipped to host a porcelain bathroom fixture convention, but AllStar Game, forget it. The city was so eager to show the world its sophistication that it housed the international media contingent 15 miles away from downtown in roadside suburban hotels. I'll admit a lot of that is media. I'm not allowed to use the term, but let's just say rear end hurt, being a little persnickety. But that's bad press. Are we ready to host this? Are we really ready? And are you prepared for the backlash if it doesn't go well? How would we recover from that if people write Milwaukee was not ready for its close-up?
Well, I was just having a conversation just earlier today. Like, I go out in the media every single day, and people will say what they say, right? Haters gonna hate. Like that's just the thing. So you just let it, wash off your back, and you don't pay a lot of attention to that sort of stuff. Milwaukee has changed a lot since that piece was written. In terms of the number of hotel rooms that have come up, in terms of our hospitality, in terms of our tourism, in terms of our culinary experiences here in the city, in terms of just the downtown amenities, in terms of our convention center, and in terms of our continued investment in American Family Field, in terms of a new facility for the Milwaukee Bucks to play downtown, in terms of the Deer District. So Milwaukee's changed so much, and will continue to change over the course of the next several years. I think Milwaukee is ready. I think we continue to show that we're ready each and every single year when we host large-scale events that are homegrown here in this city, whether it's Summerfest or whether it's Bastille Days, whether it's the championship parade that we have for the Milwaukee Bucks. Any number of things that we do here, whether it's State Fair, the list goes on and on and on. So I think that's a little outdated. I think that Milwaukee's going to show them and show the world that we're ready for the prime time.
This summer, we had the first Republican debate, and there was a big security perimeter for that, not nearly as big as what it's going to be for the RNC come July. But how do you think that went? I mean, that brought a ton of people to town. There was a lot of spectators. We had protests. We kind of had everything that we're expecting. Now we're expecting on a larger scale come the RNC. But do you think that went pretty well?
I think it went exceedingly well. I mean, folks, look, and there were a lot of people who came here for that. And as you point out, Stephanie, if you were somebody who came here because you wanted to take in the debate, you had the opportunity to do that. If you wanted to be here as somebody who was protesting the debate, you had the opportunity to do that. If you wanted to come here just to be a bystander and just witness it all happening, you had the ability to do that. There was a lot of energy and excitement on the ground in this city. It was a big city feel because it was a big city event. And I think it went exceedingly well. And I think it bodes well for what we can expect this summer with the RNC.
There is a German term that comes from our German heritage here. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Gemütlichkeit, the welcoming vibe that a city gives out. We pride ourselves on that for whatever it is, whether it's a porcelain convention or an AllStar Game or whatever. We are a fairly blue city in a very blue county, although you did point out that there's a strong Republican, base here. What is your message to Milwaukeeans who may not be voting red in the fall, or even if they are not voting at all? What's your message on their responsibility in terms of hosting this thing?
Yeah, well, again, whether you're a Democrat or whether you're not a Democrat, being a gracious host is important, whether somebody's coming to your home or whether somebody's coming to your home city. Again, because they're going to go back and they're going to tell people in their network or in their city about the experience that they had on the ground here. And that could yield, other people, other business opportunities coming here that ultimately could lead to job creation or more money being spent helping people who live here in your city. Right. That's what the message is. Right. If we want to see these other things come to fruition beyond the RNC, then, folks have to have a good time here. And, I've said this time and again, like, I want more political, because I do want the DNC to reconsider coming back here. I want more political. I want more business. I want more sports. I want more entertainment things to come here. Talking about Cleveland before and all the great things that have come since then. I mean, even this summer, and I'm a little jealous of this, WWE SummerSlam is going to Cleveland. Just like it was in in Nashville, the other year too, like the city that turned this way. So like, I want these sort of things to come here to bring more economic opportunities to the people on the ground in Milwaukee. And that's why people should be welcoming to this and other events in the future here.
Keep forgetting what a wrestling fan you are.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Every Friday night before our Fox 6 News at 9, we have it on our air. Make sure to tune in. We have a couple of minutes left here, Mayor. I want to ask, what are you most excited about for these 4 days?
I'm excited about Milwaukee being able to be showcased on not just a national level, but an international level. Like folks from across the world are going to have their eyes zoomed in on Milwaukee. And folks from across the world are going to be visiting Milwaukee and having experiences here. And they'll go back again to their communities literally all over the country and around the world, talking about what a great place this is. Folks know that I want to grow the city. I want this city to be a city of 1 million people. I can't get there simply by hoping and wishing. We have to have plans in place. Part of that is making sure that people know about what a great place this is. I think too many people stop at Chicago and don't go north. And then the people that I do engage with who do venture to Milwaukee, who've never been here, when they get their feet on the ground, they look around and they are in awe. They did not know that such an awesome, great metropolis exists, even so close to the city of Chicago. So we have a great opportunity here. I want the first thing, when people think about the state of Wisconsin, I want them to think about Milwaukee. Just like when you ask folks about Illinois, the first thing they think of is Chicago. I want the same thing to happen here with Milwaukee and Wisconsin.
Does it help? And I'm going to another network here, which we aren't really supposed to do, but have you been watching Top Chef and the way that the city and the state, but the city, the first few episodes, has been portrayed so positively? That's kind of a springboard. I mean, the timing couldn't be better, right?
Ted, so let me be honest with you. I have never watched Top Chef.
Nor had I until
in my life.
Until this season.
Ditto.
Until this season. Now I am zoomed in. Like I did not watch it last night because I was working late to have some stuff going on. And I was upset. I was upset because I want to see Milwaukee showcased the way that it is across the country. I mean, even when they venture out to, I know they were in Madison recently and they went up to Door County and all this sort of stuff. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But even on the still, when they go to commercial, like it's the skyline of Milwaukee. Like I want those images out there for the world to see, and I want people to be curious about here, and I want people to come here.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite what?
Chef. Who are you rooting for? Aside, of course, from our own Dan.
But yeah. outside of Dan.
If it can't be Dan.
Yeah, I see their names or see their faces, but I don't know their names.
I'm rooting for Michelle, the barbecuer.
Yeah, I do like Michelle.
Okay.
I do like Michelle.
Barbecue's always good.
Yeah. And then there are two other guys. There are two other guys on there that I like as well. So
Okay.
Michelle, Dan, and these two other guys.
Stephanie asked what you're most excited about. I want to ask, what makes you pop up at 2 a.m. and go, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? What makes you lose sleep about this convention?
Well, and it's not just the convention. It's just I'm the mayor of a big city, right? And you don't have to be mayor of a big city. You could be the mayor of a small city. And I think public safety is always going to be something that concerns you. So whether it's the RNC, whether it was the DNC, I mean, even with the DNC, I mean, there was a concern about human trafficking, right? So whether it's that or just my everyday, thoughts about things, like I'm concerned about public safety. Now, we're doing a good job, I think, with holding people accountable and then also having preventative measures in place. Accountability and prevention is our sort of strategy. So we're having improvements in public safety in Milwaukee, which I'm very pleased about. But that doesn't mean that I'm not thinking about public safety. I'm thinking about it constantly. So whether it's in the day-to-day or whether it's in a big event, I'm thinking about that issue.
What impression do you hope people walk away with, other than beer and cheese and the Packers, which is what people always say when you say Wisconsin?
Yeah, vibrant city. I think people do not think, when you think about the state of Wisconsin, they think, about beer and cheese and farms and the Packers. That's about it. I want them to think about the city of Milwaukee. I want them to know that there is a vibrant bustling metropolis on the southwestern shore of Lake Michigan, not named Chicago, in the state of Wisconsin, that is a diverse, consequential city here in the state of Wisconsin. That's what I want folks to see and to know. And I want them to experience all the positive things here. And I want them to go back and tell those stories. And I want them to come back. And I want this to be the springboard to other great things for our city in the years to come.
It's going to be a good time of year, too. You know, it's the primo time.
Yes, it's the best.
Is there anything before we let you go, sir, that we have not asked you that you want people to know about the RNC coming?
No, I think we've covered it all. Whether it's the safety aspect of it, whether it's the bringing folks in, the positive experience, the 4-day commercial for the city of Milwaukee. I think you guys did a great job.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
We really do.
Thank you.
Good luck to you as we get closer to this thing. Be curious to see what your role will be.
Yeah.
Well, if they let you in Fiserv Forum, or if you're outside with the protesters, then we're glad you're here, but we don't agree with your policies. Whatever it is, you're going to be there. But we do hope it's an event that runs smoothly. No one wants it to go poorly.
Yeah. I don't get that sense either. Everybody wants us to go off without a hitch, and I'm excited about that. So
We'll talk after and get a recap from you and see how you feel about it.
Stay tuned.
All right, that'll be the final episode, right? Well, we're going to see you again in a couple weeks. We're not sure what the next episode is. I have a guest I think lined up, but you got to come back for that one because we're not quite sure. But we'll get something for you, and we're always taking your questions. Ted.perry@fox.com, Stephanie.grady@fox.com. If there's an issue, a question, a topic that you want that's RNC related, this is the show for you. This is why we're doing this podcast.
We're learning it as you learn. Today's episode, The Good, the Bad, the Greed. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson, we always appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time out today. And this has been Conventional Wisdom.